Okay, hey folks, Mark Locklear here with a quick screencast on chapter 14, and this is how to work with dates and times. So calendaring is an interesting topic for software development. Again, this is like I do most things. This is more general. We'll keep it just general software development for a moment. But as a developer, dates and times and parsing dates and times and gathering dates and times are going to be near and dear to your heart. I've, every developer has spent many hours, wailing and gnashing of teeth, dealing with date and time issues. So just by the nature of what you do in software development, you're very often going to be dealing with dates and times. So this is what this chapter focuses on. Calendaring is interesting if you look at, and again, this is stepping outside of even the software development realm, but when you think about, developing a calendar that over the course of time, we've been doing it for about 5,000 years, but, sort of civilized society has been around for maybe over 10,000 years. And it took us, about 5,000 years to get to a point where we understood, a 365-day calendar enough that we could sort of keep track of time. And the reason it's a hard thing is because it's not, it's not necessarily a linear thing, right? We have leap years. We have a leap year once every 4 years, just sort of adjust for it. So we're not on a sort of regular set calendar. So I say that to say, to be able to codify that, to step back into the software development world, to actually be able to wrap code around the idea of a calendar and to be able to keep track of dates and times and days of the week and those kinds of things. It's not a trivial thing. Now we've figured it out, but I just say that to say that the underlying code to actually solve these problems is not an easy thing. Now, fortunately, we have the benefit of programming languages that give us methods and classes and those sorts of things, such that we're able to use those things to solve these calendaring issues. But again, I wrote the biggest experience I had with calendaring is I actually wrote a program for AB Tech many years ago that I think still in use now. If you went through new student orientation, if you use the online scheduler for new student orientation, I actually wrote that many years ago. And if you've used that application, you've got it's pretty typical application that you see on the web. You have a calendar and you choose a time. You've got a set of available times, and you can choose that time to register yourself for new student orientation. But in writing that application and having to come up with the calendar piece, I had to give the admin users the ability to choose which times they wanted and where those would live at on the calendar, and then make those particular dates available to students so they could sign up. There's only, there's an enrollment limit, so only so many students can sign up for a given time. And so dealing with all those nuances of dates and times and calendaring can be a real challenge. So that's sort of what we'll be talking about in this screencast. So I think what we're going to do here is I've got I'm asking you to do project 14.1 is here. Let's see, which is the reservation calculator. Hopefully you can see this on my screen. I'm not 100% well what I shared here, but anyway, this is going to be project 14.1, the reservation calendar. And I think I'm just going to sort of walk you through, get you started on creating that. No, you can't see it because I'm not sharing my screen yet. So let me do that now. Okay, here we go. So yeah, here's 14.1 reservation calendar. So we'll look at that. But so let's start off with just a fresh. I've got a fresh Java application here, and I think what I'll do is let's just do some sort of basic coding. on just dates and times, just so you can sort of see how those things work. Okay, so you've got different options here. Local date, I'm looking on page 443. Local date is part of the calendar, one of the calendar classes that you'll be using here. So I'm going to use local date for the examples that I'm using here. So for instance, to get started, let's just create a variable called today and we're going to be using the local date class. So notice I've got, of course, my red squiggly line here. I'm on a Mac, so I'm doing Option Enter. I think maybe you do Alt Enter in Windows. And so we need to import the local date class. Okay, so we've used the local date class here. We're creating a variable called today, and then we're using the method now. So this local date dot now is actually going to give us an object or a variable that's going to represent today's dates. I'm actually doing this on August. I'm looking at the calendar here, August 26, 2021. So if I actually do, and just so this is a little shortcut that NetBeans gives you. If you do S out and then hit the tab button, let's try it again, S out tab. Notice it gives you that's a quick way to get a print line statement. And so if I output today, and I run this, notice I get a date here, 2021 8/26, and of course you can format this. There's all various methods that allow you to format this in any format you like, but in this case we're doing year, month, and day. Okay, and let's say I want to, and this is what one of the things you'll be using for project 14.1 is finding the number of days between two dates. So let's say I'm going to create a second date here called Halloween. And again, we're in 2021. You may be, if you're watching this, you'll probably be watching it after 2021, but that's okay. The concept still applies. So in this case, I'm creating a variable called Halloween, and notice I'm doing this local date .of. I'm using the of method here, and then I'm dropping in the year, the month, and the day. And so now what I can do is actually do days between. In this case, I'm going to use the chrono unit class. So I'll put this in. So what are we doing here? So in this case, I'm doing, this variable is going to be an integer, int. I'm just going to call it days underscore between. I'm going to cast it to an int in this case because chrono unit doesn't. I think it returns a date object, so we want to actually cast it to an integer. And in this case, chrono unit .days .between, and then the two arguments we're going to pass it are the two dates that I've just created, today and then Halloween. Now again, I need to import this chrono unit class, so I'll do that now. Okay. And let's see, see why I'm getting this error here, import. Okay, yeah, I actually need this month class too. Okay, so now I'm going to output days between, and what we should get is the number of days between now and Halloween. So in this case, it's 66. Okay, so that just gives you a quick idea of how to create dates, whether it's present date or maybe a future or even a past date, and then how to get the number of days between those two. Okay, so let's go back to our project 14.1. So in this case, we're going to be creating a reservation calculator. I'm not going to do any of the input here. You should be fairly familiar with how to get input from users. So you're going to want to get the arrival, month, day, and year. And I want you to stick to the requirements you've got here. So rather than maybe get a string from them, stick with the output, the screen output that they've got here. So get the arrival, month, day, and year, get the departure, month, day, and year, and then also pay attention specifically to the format the dates that you see here. Use whatever methods you need to get the format of these dates right, so it looks exactly like the output you got here, because I'll be grading on that now. I'll take points off if it's not exactly what you see here. Okay. As far as the specs go, first thing it asks us to do is create a reservation class that defines a reservation. This class should contain instance variables for arrival date and departure date, and then also a constant initialized that initializes a nightly rate of $145. Okay, so let's create a reservation class. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose Java class. I'm going to call this reservation. So this gives me a new reservation class here. And then let's go ahead and put in our instance variables that it referred to, okay? So here we've got the arrival date, departure date, and then it asks for a constant. So I'm going to do that. Remember, constants are in all caps, and then we're also using this final keyword that ensures that this is a constant, what Java refers to as a constant value, $115. Let's go ahead and import our local time class. So we've got that. Okay, we got that. Let's create our let's create a couple of constructors. So in this case, we'll do public reservation. All right, so there's that one. And then, yeah, I think I need some parens in here. And then we also want to create a constructor that's going to allow us to instantiate a new reservation object. And we want to be able to pass the arrival date and the departure date to it, right? So we'll do something like this, okay? So in this case, public reservation, and then local date arrival, local date departure, okay? Those are the arguments we're going to pass to it. And then all we're doing here is just simply setting each of those, setting each of the instance variables based on the arguments that are being passed to it, right? And so if we go over back to our main method here, so again, the general structure of this, let me go ahead and comment out this stuff. The general structure of this application here in the main method, you'll probably want to get, use the console to get the arrival date or the arrival and departure information. So again, all this stuff at the beginning, arrival, month, day, and year, departure, month, day, and year. So you want to do that here. I'm going to say, I'm just going to say get user input. Okay, so you'll get that input from the user, and then you'll assign that to a variable. And then of course you're going to then pass that information to the reservation class. And in this case, let's say we're going to have a get number of nights method, and that's what you'll use to return the number of nights. So let's instantiate our reservation object first. So it'll be something like reservation R equals, and then we'll say new reservation, and then in fact we can use our variables that we've got here, right? Let's uncomment those out. Just so you know, I'm at least on Mac, I'm using command and then the / that allows you to quickly comment and uncomment things. So in this case, we'll pass today and Halloween to this method, okay? Now I know this is not going to do anything right now. I mean, in fact, if I run it, it'll probably run error-free runs, but I mean, we've instantiated an object, but we're not doing anything with it, right? So if we go over to our, so let's code up what we'll do. We'll code up what we want first, and then we'll create the method for it on the other side. So we could do well, no, let's go ahead and create the method. Let's create a get number of nights method over here. So it's going to be public int, and then we'll call it get number of nights, and do that. And then what is it? So we're going to use the chrono again. We'll use the chrono unit. I'm just going to paste in this code rather than you all having to watch me type. So we'll need to import chrono units. So that's there, okay. And let's just put this on one line so it makes a little more sense. All righty. So we've got a get number of nights method here. It's a public method, so we can access it outside the reservation class. Our variable inside the method is going to be an integer. We're going to call it nights. And again, we're just calling this chrono unit method days dot between. We're passing the arrival date, departure date to it, and then it's going to return the number of nights. So if we do that over here, yeah, we should be able to S out. And then if we look at our, not sure if that'll give us what we want or not. Let's see. And that just gives us the object. Let me pause for a second and make sure I've got this doing what I want it to do. Okay, and so we need to call, yeah, we're just outputting the object here, but obviously we need to call our get number of nights method. So now if we do r dot get number of nights, that should give us, I think 66 was what it was before. Yeah, that's going to give us that number there. Okay. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to, I think that's all we'll do right now. I think I'll stop there and let you all figure out the rest. You know, just from, and I like to do this from time to time. Again, notice it says reservation class should include the following methods. So like often what I'll do here is I'll just copy this whole chunk because I know, I mean, these are all methods that I'm going to need to implement. And then I'll go over to the reservation method. And what I'll do is actually paste these in, right? And then I'll come back, maybe format them so they look nice. And then what I'll do is comment these out. And then what I'll do is just sort of take these, you know, one method at a time. So, okay, I'm gonna start with the get arrival date method. Well, what do I want that to do? Well, in this case, you know, I'm gonna want that to take the, I'm gonna want that to take the, you know, in fact, this one's just gonna be a simple one where it's gonna be local date, you get arrival date, and then all I'm doing is setting that, all I'm doing is doing return arrival date, right? So these are all your getters and setters that you're going to need. So again, that's, you know, get arrival date formatted. Okay, so there I'm going to be using the date time for formatter, and I'm going to format it based on what the requirements ask for. Okay, so I'll let you guys take it from here. Again, if you have questions, feel free to email me, and looking forward to seeing your work. Thanks.